Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks. My name is Claire, and I never thought I'd be screaming at my own daughter, in the middle of our kitchen, with a phone in her hand, threatening to call the police on me. You need to calm down, Emma, I shouted, my voice cracking from the storm of emotion boiling inside me. Calm down? Are you serious right now? She fired back, eyes red with fury, her fingers trembling over the screen. You stole from me. You went through my things, read my messages, and then had the nerve to cancel my trip? Who the hell do you think you are? She wasn't crying. Not yet. But her voice had the kind of edge that lets you know the tears are right there, just waiting for a single word to unleash them. And I could feel it in my bones, this wasn't just about a cancelled trip. I'm your mother, Emma. That gives me every right to. You're not my mother, she screamed, her voice tearing through the air like broken glass. You're a control freak who thinks she owns me just because she gave birth to me 20 years ago. And just like that, the air left the room. I staggered back a step, as if her words had physically struck me. My hands dropped from the counter where I had been gripping for stability. I felt heat flush my face, and my heart began to pound louder than her voice. She didn't know. She didn't know. That one sentence unraveled everything. Years of quiet sacrifice, whispered prayers, secrets kept in dusty boxes in the attic, all of it now hanging in the air, raw and exposed. You don't mean that, I said, softer now, almost pleading. But she was already unlocking her phone, thumb hovering over the number pad. You need help, Claire. You're unwell. I'm done letting you gaslight me. I'm calling the cops if you don't get out of my face right now. A lump rose in my throat. My legs felt like stone. I had to speak. I had to end this before the truth came out wrong. No. You know what? Go ahead, I said suddenly, stepping closer to her. Call them. I dare you. She looked up at me like I'd lost my mind. Oh, I will. Good. And when they get here, I'll tell them everything, I snapped, my voice now like ice. I'll tell them who you really are. Who I really am. Emma's hand froze midair. What the hell are you talking about? You want the truth? You're so grown, so smart, right? You're old enough to throw accusations, call me a thief, scream in my face like some stranger. Then you're old enough to hear the story I never wanted to tell you. She blinked fast, her anger dimming just enough for me to see the fear creeping in behind her eyes. Mom, her voice cracked for the first time. She didn't even realize she still called me that. I never wanted to hurt you. I protected you, I said, my voice trembling now, but steady with conviction. From the day I held you in my arms, I swore I would never let the truth hurt you. But today, you've made it clear. You think I'm the villain. So fine. Let's talk about what really happened. I turned and marched to the drawer by the sink. She didn't follow, but I could feel her stare burning into my back. I pulled out the old, beat-up manila envelope I kept hidden behind the emergency candles. I hadn't touched it in years. It still had the frayed edges and faded ink from the courthouse. I placed it on the table between us. Read it. Emma didn't move. I said read it. Or would you rather the police come and read it for you? With a trembling hand, she opened the envelope. Birth certificates. Legal documents. Photos. Hospital wristbands. My fingerprints on forms I signed the day her life began. Her fingers shook as she pulled the last page out, a letter in careful handwriting, signed by someone she'd never heard of. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I wasn't the one who gave birth to you, Emma, I said quietly. I saved you. When your birth parents left you screaming in the emergency ward and vanished, I was the nurse on duty. I was the one who held you through the night. I was the one who rocked you when no one else came. Tears streamed down her face now. Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the ground. No, no. That can't be true. You're lying, this is some kind of sick. I wanted to never tell you. I wanted you to have a normal life. A safe one. So I gave up everything to raise you like you were mine. And you were. Every scraped knee, every nightmare, every graduation, I was there. Because I loved you. I love you. Emma backed away from the table. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because I was afraid. That the moment you knew, you'd stop loving me. And now, there we were. A mother who had sacrificed her life for a child who didn't know she'd been rescued, and a daughter who just found out her entire identity was built on a truth too heavy to carry alone. The silence between us stretched. Her breathing was uneven. My heart was shattering piece by piece with every passing second. I looked at her, tears welling in my eyes. I didn't tell you to control you, Emma. I told you to protect you. You're still mine. That hasn't changed. But I didn't know if that was enough anymore. She was staring at the documents like they were from another planet. Like everything she knew had been ripped away in an instant. And maybe it had. So I turned to walk away. But then I heard her whisper. You saved me? My legs stopped. Yes. And in that moment, everything hung in the balance. If you think family is only about blood, this story will make you question everything. Stay with me, because what happens next will test loyalty, forgiveness, and the definition of real love. Sometimes the truth destroys, but sometimes it sets us free. The moment I said yes, it was like the room folded in on itself. Emma stood there, barely breathing, holding those papers like they were explosives. Her voice was a whisper, but it pierced deeper than a scream. You saved me? From what? Why would my parents leave me? I stepped closer, cautiously, like approaching a wild animal in pain. I don't have all the answers, I said, keeping my voice steady. They came in one night. Your mother was bleeding, scared. Young. No ID, no family, nothing. She gave birth, handed you over, and walked out the doors before anyone could stop her. We tried to find her for days. Weeks. But she never came back. Emma flinched, like she'd just been slapped. So what, you just took me? No, I replied, swallowing the knot in my throat. I fought for you. When social services wanted to hand you off like a number, I filed for emergency custody. I went through court hearings, background checks, sleepless nights, and public scrutiny. I wasn't married. I wasn't rich. I was just a nurse with a broken past and a bigger heart than most. But I wouldn't let them take you. Her lips trembled. Why didn't you just tell me when I was old enough? I looked down at my hands, now aged and tired. Because every time I tried, you'd look up at me with those eyes. And you'd say, I love you, Mommy. And I'd freeze. I was so scared that if I told you the truth, that love would vanish. Her tears spilled freely now, but she wasn't looking at me anymore. She was staring at the wall like it held all the answers she never knew she needed. So all those years, the birthday letters I never got, the grandparents who never called, the cousins who didn't exist. They didn't forget you, I said. They never knew you. Because they left, Emma. And they didn't come back. She sat down hard at the kitchen table, the envelope still clutched in her fingers. I waited. I wanted to rush to her, wrap my arms around her like I did when she was little and scraped her knee on the sidewalk. But this wasn't a scraped knee. This was her soul, fractured. I hated you today, she whispered. I thought you were the enemy. I know, I said softly. And I don't blame you. She glanced at me now, really looked at me, and something cracked. You didn't have to cancel the trip. You could have just told me. I sat across from her. I canceled it because the boy you were going with has 3 restraining orders on file in another state. I found out when I checked his name against a medical database. He's not who he says he is, Emma. I had to protect you. Like I always have. She stared at me, mouth slightly open, the weight of my words sinking in slowly. You checked his name, in the system? I nodded. I've seen girls just like you roll into the ER. Girls who thought they knew everything, trusted the wrong people. Some of them never walked out. I wasn't going to let you become one of them. The anger that had once fueled her now seemed distant, replaced by a sobering clarity. She wiped her face with her sleeves, sniffling, her voice soft. I thought you were controlling. Like obsessed with managing my life. I probably was, I admitted, chuckling bitterly. But only because I knew what it took to survive. I watched her whole life bloom in front of me. I wasn't going to stand by and let one bad decision unravel everything we worked for. For a long time, we sat in silence. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. But neither of us moved. And then she said something that made my heart seize. Did I ever call you Mom, when I was little? Before I knew any better? I smiled, even through my tears. Every single day. You'd run down the hallway in your pajamas and shout Mommy, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And it was. To me, you've always been mine. And I will never stop being your mother. No matter what some ink on paper says. Her lips quivered. And you really fought to keep me? I reached across the table, my hand trembling, and gently touched hers. I would have gone to war for you. She broke then, sobbing, shaking, the kind of cry that comes from the core of someone's identity shattering and reforming all at once. And for the first time in years, I saw my little girl again. Not the angry young woman who felt betrayed, but the child who just wanted to understand why the world hadn't made sense. I'm sorry, she cried, her head buried in her hands. I didn't know. I was so mean. I forgive you, I whispered, standing and walking over to her. I forgave you before you even said it. She stood up slowly and fell into my arms. We held each other like we were drowning, because maybe we had been. Drowning in lies, in unspoken fears, in years of built-up tension we never dared confront. But tonight, the truth had broken the dam. And maybe, just maybe, we could start building something stronger. Something real. Something unshakable. Because love like this, the kind that chooses, that fights, that sacrifices without recognition, that love doesn't break easily. Even when it's tested by the truth. The house was quiet the next morning, but it wasn't peaceful. You could feel it in the air, the kind of silence that only comes after an emotional storm. Like the air itself was holding its breath. Emma hadn't come out of her room. I didn't blame her. I'd dropped a truth so heavy it would take time to carry, let alone process. But I wasn't done. There was one part of the story I'd never told anyone, not even her. Not even myself, fully. I made her a cup of tea, left it by her door, and walked back to the living room. I stared at the envelope still sitting on the table, the adoption papers she'd thrown. It was like they were mocking me now, daring me to open a door I had kept locked for almost 2 decades. Then she came out. Her face pale, her eyes red but calm. She didn't look at me when she spoke. You said my mom left me, but what about my dad? My hands trembled slightly. I didn't answer right away. I was deciding whether to tell her the whole truth, or the safe version. She looked at me sharply. You do know something, don't you? I nodded slowly. Sit down. She did. Arms crossed, guarded again. Not with rage this time, with suspicion. I don't know his name, I began. Your mother wouldn't tell me. But I remember something she said, something that stuck with me all these years. She said, if he finds us, he'll kill me. Emma flinched. She was terrified. Not just panicked. She was hiding. She didn't want anyone to know where she was, not even the hospital. That's why she gave birth under a fake name and disappeared. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Are you saying my father was abusive? I hesitated. I think worse. The room felt colder suddenly, like the past was creeping through the walls. I had a friend in law enforcement, I continued, voice lower now. I asked him to look into it, discreetly. All I gave him was the name she used to sign in and the baby's blood type, yours. And what he found? Emma, it wasn't good. She leaned in, eyes locked on mine. Tell me. There was a missing persons report. 17-year-old girl from out of state. Reported by her school counselor after she stopped showing up to class. The timeline matched. Her name was not what she used here. But the blood type, the hospital record, the date, everything matched. I paused, heart pounding. And then came the bombshell, she was listed as a potential witness in a sealed federal case. Against a trafficking ring. Emma's hand shot to her mouth. No way, she whispered. You're saying my birth parents were involved in? I don't know for sure, I said quickly. But she was running. And she didn't want you anywhere near the man she was with. I believe she dropped you off that night to save you. Even if it meant losing you forever. Emma stood up and started pacing. Her breath came faster now, panicked. So I could be the child of a criminal? A trafficker? No, I said firmly. You are the child of a survivor. And don't you ever forget that. Her pacing stopped. Her eyes met mine, softening. You were never a mistake, Emma. You were the only thing she did right. And when she couldn't protect you anymore, I did. She sat back down, slowly. Do you think she's still alive? I don't know, I said. I've checked hospitals, shelters, online databases. Nothing. It's like she vanished. I think, maybe she had help disappearing. Or maybe. I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't have to. Emma looked out the window. This changes everything. It doesn't have to, I said gently. You are still you. This doesn't define who you are, unless you let it. She turned back to me, a strange mix of defiance and determination on her face. I want to know who I am. I want to find her. I hesitated. Emma. No. I need this, she said, her voice rising. I've spent my whole life feeling like something was off. Now I know why. I need answers. Her conviction was undeniable. But my fear wasn't gone. What if what you find is more painful than what you already know? I'd rather hurt with the truth, she said, than live in comfort with a lie. And there it was, the moment she stopped being just my daughter and became her own person. I saw her fire. Her hunger for truth. And I knew then. I had to help her. Even if it scared me. Even if it meant losing her again, this time, to a past I couldn't control. I'll help you, I said finally. She looked up, surprised. But we do it smart. Carefully. One step at a time. No contacting strangers. No DNA websites without protections. We'll work with someone I trust. She nodded slowly. Okay. Then, she asked one final question that stopped me in my tracks. What if I'm like him? What if something inside me is broken too? I stood up, walked to her, and placed both hands on her shoulders. You are nothing like him. You are brave, brilliant, and full of heart. What's in your blood doesn't define you. What's in your choices does. And you, Emma, you chose to face the truth. That alone proves who you are. She broke into tears again, but this time they were silent, almost peaceful. She leaned into me. And for the first time in years, she let herself be held. We stood there, mother and daughter, tied by more than blood. Tied by truth. And by the unbreakable bond of choice. It started small, a message board, an old social workers forum, one of those lost connections groups where people post desperate pleas hoping someone recognizes a face or a name. Emma posted a simple message. Looking for a woman who gave birth in Illinois around 2005 under the name Tina M. Possibly connected to federal witness protection. This is her daughter. Please help. I told her not to put her real name, but she ignored me. They need to know I'm serious, she said. I'm not hiding anymore. For weeks, we heard nothing. Then one night, my phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. It read, "You're digging where you shouldn't. Drop it." My blood turned to ice. I raced into Emma's room, heart pounding. She was at her desk, headphones on, combing through another database. When I told her, she barely blinked. I expected this, she said quietly. If she was running from someone dangerous, they probably still have eyes out there. But I'm not backing down. Emma, this isn't a game. I know. But I spent my whole life thinking you were my enemy. Now I find out you were the only one protecting me, and I treated you like garbage. Let me make it right. Let me finish what she couldn't. I wanted to argue. To scream. To shut it all down. But I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen since she was little: focus. Purpose. So I didn't stop her. I just watched. And worried. A few days later, she got an email from a man named Marcus. Claimed he used to work with Juvenile Protective Services. Said he remembered a case that sounded very similar. I can't put things in writing, the message said, but if you're serious, meet me in person. Alone. I told her absolutely not. But Emma? Emma had already packed her bag. I have to know, she said. So I followed her. She didn't know, I stayed 2 cars behind the whole time. Just in case. They met at a rundown diner on the edge of town. I watched from across the parking lot, pretending to read a newspaper in my car. Marcus was tall, wiry, mid-50s. Wore sunglasses even indoors. He slid into the booth like a shadow. I couldn't hear them, but I could see Emma's posture. Defensive. But not scared. She asked questions. Took notes. Nodded carefully. Then he pulled out a photo. Emma froze. Her hand went to her mouth, the same way she did when she saw those sealed papers. She touched the photo gently, then looked up and said something. He reached across the table, took the photo back, and stood to leave. It looked like he said, "Be careful." Emma sat there long after he left. Clutching something in her lap. I waited until she got home to confront her. "You followed me?" she asked, arms crossed. "Yes," I said. "And I'm glad I did." "Who was that man? What did he show you?" She slowly unzipped her bag and pulled out the photo. It was of a girl. Blonde, small. Maybe 17. Standing in front of a courthouse with 2 federal agents behind her. Her eyes looked terrified, but there was a strange strength there, too. "That's her," Emma whispered. He said her name was Rachel. She testified in a trafficking case. Disappeared right after. They never found her. But he thinks she started over. And she used the name Tina. My breath caught. "So that's really your birth mother?" "I think so," she said. "But here's the twist. Marcus told me something else. He said the man she ran from? He had people everywhere. Lawyers. Judges. Even cops. That's why she had to disappear so completely." I stared at her. "You mean, she was being hunted?" "Yes. And here's the worst part." She reached into her bag again and pulled out a second photo. This one made my heart stop. It was me. At the grocery store. Walking to my car. I found this tucked into the folder Marcus gave me. No note. Just this. "Someone's been watching us." I dropped into the chair, feeling like the ground had fallen out from under me. "So what do we do?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly afraid. But I knew one thing: I wasn't letting them take her. Not now. Not ever. The next day, I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in 15 years, my old friend Jim, the former cop who helped me identify Emma's birth mother all those years ago. He'd retired to Florida, but I still had his number. When I called, he picked up in 2 rings. "Been waiting for this call," he said. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "They never stopped looking for her." "Not really. I've heard whispers, from guys still on the force. They know someone helped hide the baby." "That means you." My throat went dry. "So what happens now?" "That depends," Jim said. "On how far you're willing to go to protect her, again." "I'd die for her," I said. "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm going to help. But you need to be ready. Because if you dig any deeper, they'll come for both of you." My name is Michael, and this is the part of the story where everything either breaks or comes together. We didn't sleep that night. Emma sat by the window, watching every passing car. I stayed by the door, baseball bat in hand, phone on the charger. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind outside had us jumping. Because now we knew, someone out there had been watching us. And worse, they might know who Emma really was. The next morning, Jim called again. "They're on the move," he said. "One of the old enforcers, a guy named Clay Rothman, got spotted upstate, about 40 miles from you. He was seen asking about a woman named Rachel and a teenage daughter." Emma froze when she heard the name. "That was his name," she whispered. "The man my birth mom testified against. That's him." My blood turned cold. I'd read those old reports back then. Clay Rothman was no ordinary trafficker. He was connected to some very bad people. People who had the power to erase you like you never existed. That night, we put the plan in motion. It was Emma's idea. She said if Rothman was watching, we needed to draw him in. Control the narrative. "Let's give him what he wants," she said, "but on our terms." We set up a fake message on a survivor forum, pretending Emma had found her mother, and they were meeting at an abandoned church just outside town. A place with only one road in, one road out. We'd planted cameras there, brought Jim in as backup, and called in one favor I never thought I'd use, an old contact in the feds who still owed me for what I helped cover up years ago. We waited. At 6:57 p.m., a black SUV pulled up. The man who stepped out was thick-necked, sunglasses low, tattoos crawling up his neck. His face looked like it had been broken more than once, and reset without care. Emma stood out in the open. Strong. Unshaking. "I know who you are," she said, before he even got close. "You're the reason my mother lost everything." He laughed. "You got a mouth like hers. Shame you got her face, too." I stepped out behind the pillar. "And you've got the same coward's limp I remember from the old files." He reached for something at his side, but that was all we needed. Jim's voice cracked through the radio, "We got him." Before he could blink, 2 black cars boxed him in. 4 agents stepped out, guns drawn. Rothman froze. Then smiled. "You think this ends with me?" he growled. "No," Emma said. "But it sure as hell starts with you." They cuffed him on the spot. As they dragged him away, Emma walked right up to him, eyes like steel. "My mom wasn't weak. She was brave enough to run. I'm brave enough to finish what she started." He didn't speak. Just stared at her, hollow and defeated. The drive home was silent. Not from fear this time, but from relief. The kind that comes when your body hasn't quite caught up to the fact that you're finally safe. That night, Emma came into my room. "I want to see her," she said, "if she's still alive." My heart clenched. We didn't know if Rachel was still out there. But after Rothman was arrested, the feds opened up old files. Witnesses previously marked lost were being re-evaluated. There was a chance, a small one. 2 weeks passed. Then a knock came at the door. I opened it, and dropped the mail on the floor. It was a woman. mid-40s. Blonde, thin, quiet. Her hand shook when she saw Emma. Tears filled her eyes before she even spoke. "I never wanted to leave you," she whispered. "I watched your baby photos through a lawyer. I had to disappear, but I never stopped praying that one day I'd see your eyes again." Emma didn't speak. She just walked forward and wrapped her in the tightest hug I've ever seen. "I thought I hated you," she whispered. "But now I know, you were just trying to survive." They cried together for a long time. And I just stood there, watching this miracle unfold. The child I'd raised, meeting the woman who gave her life. Later that night, Emma came into the kitchen where I stood, staring out the window like I always do when I'm lost in thought. "She's not perfect," she said. "But I needed to meet her. Just once. And I'm glad I did." I nodded, waiting for what came next. "But you were my real parent. The one who stayed. Who took the punches. Who never gave up on me, even when I hated you." I turned slowly. My throat tightened. "I'm sorry for threatening to call the police," she whispered. "I was angry. Stupid. And I didn't know the truth." I smiled through the pain. "You were just searching for your story. I get that now." Then she said the words I'd been waiting to hear for 17 years. "Thank you, for choosing me. For protecting me when no one else would." I pulled her in for a hug, holding her like the baby I first held in my arms, alone and unsure, all those years ago. If you've ever been in a situation where you had to raise a child that wasn't yours, or were kept in the dark about your own past, know this. The truth always finds its way. It might take years. It might bring pain. But it also brings freedom. So never be afraid to stand by those you love, even when they push you away. And if you're hiding the truth out of fear, maybe it's time to let it out. Because love built on lies will always crack. But love built on truth? That lasts. Don't forget to share this story if it touched your heart. Someone out there might need it more than you know.